Okay, well, welcome. We're glad you guys are here. Well, my name is Jonathan Catherman, and these are my sons.
I'm Cole.
And
Reed.
And they went to school here since they were real little also, but obviously not anymore. Cole, what grade are you in now?
I'm in 8th grade.
11.
So here's why we've gotten together today. We wrote a book called The Manual to Middle School. And it's a bestseller, which means people buy it a lot and give it to guys your age so that you can understand what it's like to go to middle school. And it's full of over 100 topics about moving up to middle school. Shall I give you a couple of them?
Oh.
All right, so I'm just going to randomly tell me when to stop. All right, fire drills. Okay, you guys have to do fire drills here? Yeah, okay, you have to do them in middle school too, but they might be a little bit different. Okay, tell me when to stop.
Stop.
Okay, media center and library. You have one of those here? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, but I'll guarantee I've been to the ones in the middle school. They're a little bit different than they are here. Okay, tell me when to stop. Hair. You guys all have hair? Yeah. Good. Did anybody look yourselves in the mirror this morning and went, I look good? Anybody just sort of just didn't care, just sort of got over it? Yeah?
I never cared about my hair.
Well, you know what? When you get to middle school, I think you're gonna start caring a little bit more from time to time about what you look like. Tell me when to stop. Face wash. How many of you guys wash your face in the morning or in the evening? Okay, if you don't, guess what? It's time to start. We'll discuss a couple of these things. So there's over 100 topics in here. Let me read off a few of them to you. And then we're going to give you guys a chance to ask some questions and stuff. Like bathrooms and cell phones and crying and bullies. We'll start with a little bit of a background story here. Now we're sitting around the dinner table and Reed is just leaving 8th grade, moving to high school. And Cole is just leaving 5th grade, moving to middle school. And the way we sit at our dinner table is I sit on the one side and my wife sits on the other side and the boys sit across from each other so they look at each other straight away, right? And my wife and I look at each other straight away. And these guys got into a dinner table conversation where Cole's asking Reed about what it's like to go to middle school, because he's sitting right where you are right now, kind of questioning what the experience is going to be like. And Reed just started sharing with him all kinds of great advice. And Cole's over here like, okay. Right? And then Reed says, oh, and here's something else you should do. And Cole's like, okay. And then when Cole asks a question, Reed's like, oh yeah, I got that. I'm like, we should start writing this stuff down. And then I had this idea. I'm like, wait a minute. This sounds like another book. So I said to the guy, I said, I want to work on another book. Do you want to help me out with it? And they're like, sure. And I was like, okay. So they decided that they would be willing to help out with the new book. And that's what we ended up coming up with, the Manual to Middle School. And just so you know what's in it, 100 instructions, and every instruction has 2 illustrations. And they're like, do this, not that illustrations. So it's funny, it's lots of good advice, and we'll share some with you. Okay, so let's think about some questions. Everybody stop and think. If you wanted to ask a question about what's it like to move up to middle school, what questions would you ask?
Are the buses different, or are they relatively the same as they are here?
The bus system, it's a bit different. There's probably going to be more people on your bus. People might act a bit different because it's middle school, and there's going to be 8th graders and 6th graders and 7th graders. Usually 8th graders sit in the far back, and you don't have to talk to them, but sometimes it's all different mixed together, and it's not very different though.
One thing to think about buses in middle school is also behavior. I haven't been on your bus, so I don't know what it's like, but I hear stories about the middle school bus, and sometimes I hear stories about what happens, and it's not always bad, it's not always good. Mm-hmm. But you control your own behavior on the bus, right? So if you act good and others are acting bad, you don't have to act like they do. You control your own actions. So you pick your seat, you pick the way you're going to interact, and be fine.
Are the teachers, like, when you first come, are they always, like, helping, or are they, like, do they leave you alone, or do they only help you, like, if you need help?
So the thing is, they're all trying to help you at first because you're getting your step off from elementary school, and they're going to try to make you more independent as a student and have you do your own work and make sure you get your own homework done. So they'll help you for a while and then step away slowly as you progress in being able to do your own thing.
Guess what? It's in the book, teachers. So is buses, so is homework.
Do you guys do any fun projects?
Fun
Yes.
projects. You do fun projects.
All the time. Like you do a lot of the more fun things, I guess, in your electives, or there's also a lot of things in your normal classes. Like you'll have projects in social studies, science, just a lot of cool things.
Science experiments there's a kind of fun projects. Same thing as you'll see even here. You've seen kids walk into school and they've got these big boards and they've made something about the president, so they've made a flag, or they've done something with science. You'll have that opportunity when you get to middle school also.
Is it okay if you're a little late to class, like you're trying to open your locker, and it takes you a while, and you get stuck, and you have to like hurry up, but you take a little bit of time, so then you're late to class a little bit?
Usually if you're not horribly late, like 2 or 3 minutes, you're perfectly fine. Your teachers understand.
Unless you can't open your locker every day and you're 2 or 3
Yeah.
minutes late every day. Occasionally, if it happens and you can explain yourself well, then teachers, they don't want you to be in trouble. They want you to be all right. And everybody's gotten in a position like, as a teacher, driving to school, the traffic is really bad and you're trying to get here on time. It's like you trying to open your locker and trying to get in class on time. They understand. If it's all the time though, guess what? That's something you gotta work on.
Was it hard getting used to your lockers?
The codes. I think the codes are the thing that you gotta memorize. I think the placement of where like your locker is, that'll be easy to get down, especially if it's next to one of your classes. But I think it's just, the codes. You gotta know your code. You gotta not leave your locker unlocked, or else people will do something called butterfly your locks.
Yeah. What does butterflying a locker mean?
Haha.
Somebody gets your code and then just decides they're gonna be mean and take your locker out and flip it upside down. So you have to be upside down and undo
You're
your
literally,
locker.
if you have a lower locker, you're on the floor like,
Yeah.
So don't leave your lock unlocked, or tell all your friends what your locker combination is. Yep, go ahead.
Well, I know for a fact that I've never opened like a locker in my life. How do you I can't remember the code or anything like that. Once if you can't open it in time to get all your stuff out.
You raise up a really good point. How do I learn how to unlock a locker, right? You know, here, I'll bet you all you guys, if you asked your parents for moving out of elementary school to middle school graduation, right? You guys are gonna have a cool ceremony in the auditorium or the gymnasium. You're gonna dress up, you're gonna look really nice for your moving up, right? Ask for a combination lock so you can practice over the summer. Guess what? Locker locks, lockers.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right, there you go.
What are the teachers we want in 6th grade, like the nicest teachers?
Their mood kind of depends on how their students treat them. If you and other students treat your teachers with respect and kindness, then they will be kind to you. I think that all teachers can be really good, and that also if you influence your peers to be kind to the teacher, then everything will just be in a better mood, better atmosphere.
Here's an easy one. I know what every teacher wants. They want you to put your name on the paper, right? Right there. Okay. Kind of important. But you'd be surprised how many middle school classes I go to, and they've got this whole board of papers with no names on them, right? What? Own your work. Put your name on the work. That's what your teacher wants. You know what they want? They want you to turn in your homework on time. Not just turn it in on time with your name on it, right? So social, you know what else teachers don't want? They don't want you using your phones during class. Right?
Yeah.
So lots of a lot of what you're going to read in the book will help you get along with your teachers really well.
Unless you ask them or they allow you to, it's just not what you're supposed to be doing.
There's times where they'll let you use your media because it's part of the assignment, or it's an allowance. Then that's okay, but not just anymore.
What's the average amount of homework you get after one day in middle school?
Depending on the grade, usually 1 or 2 sheets, mostly in math or maybe social studies. Depending on your teacher, they'll just give you different amounts of homework.
Some days you'll come home with no homework. And other
Yeah.
days you may have to sit down for an hour to finish your homework.
Yeah.
And think about this, guys. If you had to read a book, and that was the homework for a class, right? And over the next 2 weeks, you need to read a book. And you have not read for 1.5 weeks. What does that mean about your homework for the next 3 days?
Don't procrastinate that. It sucks. It's so bad. It's so bad.
Yeah, don't procrastinate on the long project homework.
Is there like detention, like ASD or?
There is in-school suspension and out-of-school suspension. And in-school suspension is not as bad as out-of-school suspension.
But it's still bad.
But you still did bad. You don't want to be in it. Out-of-school suspension, you really messed up. You really don't want to be there, and that kind of messes with your record as a student.
Detention, it's in the book. Right? And basically how to avoid it. You don't want to be in detention or suspension.
If we're out of school or detention, how would our parents know, like, what time to pick us up?
Your folks know what happens.
Yeah.
You'd be surprised what your parents know about middle school. They have option to get online to find out about your grades. They get robocalls from the school about events. And when a teacher or administrator calls home, my hope is that it's had a great experience with your son today. And thankfully, we've never had the other kind, the bad experience with your son today. And guys, this is partially for you too. It would be a great compliment to have a teacher call your house and tell your parents how great you are. So don't freak out if the teacher calls your house. I mean, if you did something wrong, freak out, right? Because it's your problem. But you probably did nothing wrong, so maybe it's a compliment to call you today.
How does the going out of school work? Like, do you have to wait, or do?
Yeah, that's a great question, Reed.
You have to wait until they announce that the bus riders can go or the car riders can go. It's pretty simple.
Because my brother, he went through middle school. Is it good to ask him some questions about middle school?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, remember how I was telling you that Cole started asking Reed about middle school, and that's how we got the idea to write the book? So yeah, ask your older brother or sister about what it's like to go to middle school. And more than one conversation. You know, you've got a couple of months now. Spend every chance you get, ask them a few more questions, and you'll have an opportunity to kind of get an idea what it's like before you arrive.
I know there's no bullies here, but what's the worst kind of thing of bullies done?
People can be jerks. Some things are personal, some things are making fun of a group. If somebody's going after you, face forward, like they're going after you specifically and not a lot of people, then you have to get with the teacher. Get with the teacher anyway if it's not just you.
Don't be scared. Have you ever heard of something called a snitch? Yeah, don't be scared of that label. It's just it's a dumb label that people will put on you if you go tell or snitch on somebody. It's like if somebody's bullying you or being rude to you, it's your right to go tell a teacher, an adult, somebody. It's not something that you should be guilty about at all.
My sister told me to not, she told me that people say stuff behind my back if people are in a fight and I go get a teacher to break it up, because she's in 7th grade. So should I do that or not?
Oh yeah, if there's a fight going on, you should definitely tell a teacher, because they have the potential to get really bad and ugly, and you don't want that. You don't want to be a bystander. You should be an upstander to things like that.
Don't get involved with the fight. You could make it worse.
Yeah.
Tell a teacher, they're gonna make it better.
They have the authority. So like once they come in, the people will know to stop, and if they get hurt, the teacher gets hurt, and at least it's not you. And not saying that the teacher should, but I'm just saying that's they have the authority in that situation.
Are there any bullies that you know of in middle school right now?
There are bullies, but they're just mean for different reasons. It's not always they just want to be mean. They're not always treated right, so they don't want to treat other people right. So it's not that they're born jerks. It's something happened to them that makes them have to be mean or want to prove to their friends that they're cool.
Ever heard the saying, kill them with kindness? Be kind to them, and if they're still going to be mean and ugly to you, then that's definitely whenever you go get a teacher.
You guys will know how to stand up for what you know is right, and that includes your friends and yourselves and stuff. You'll be fine. Okay, let's give your teachers a couple chances. They have a couple questions. I'm sure they're thinking, I wish they'd ask this, I wish that.
Can you speak to finding a balance between the social media interactions, constant screen time, and getting off the phone and being present in friendships, relationships, work, sleeping at night, not having it on all night long, etc.
Sleep is a huge thing.
Oh my
Your grades
goodness.
will go down
Yeah.
if you don't have enough sleep. And social media, that is a privilege. It's not yours. People are watching what's happening. Your parents can see what you post. Other people will see what you post, and they'll reflect on that based off of what you do. So
Your reputation these days is kind of not only in the social media world, but that's a big part of it. If you post something, that's in a database, and if your future employer finds that, they'll know.
And you guys, there's a balance in your life, and so everybody's got one of these or has access to one of these, right? And it's a really cool device, right? It's either a tool or a toy. And to find a balance on how you use it is really important, because what you're doing is you're starting to create habits for how you interact with other people. And I'm bothered often when I meet families or students, and the kids are all doing this, and we're trying to interact. It's a level of immaturity, meaning you don't know how to interact with other people. If this isn't around, are you still interesting? Are you still interested? There's great ways to have conversations and getting active. Some of you guys are asking about sports and stuff like that. Find a balance between real time, FaceTime, and phone time, as well as whatever you do on your phone. Reed brought up a real good point. It's not private. It's very, very public. When you go to bed, go to bed. Put your phone, your device away. If someone's texting you, messaging you at 11 o'clock at night, they might as well walk up to your house, ring your doorbell. How would your parents feel about that? I just wanted to talk to them. Just want to say, put the device away, get your sleep. You guys really need your sleep. At your body right now, the way you're growing, you need at least 8 hours of sleep a night, if not up to 10.
Can you explain what a GPA is and why it's so important when participating in sports and after-school activities?
So your GPA,
What does it stand for, Reed?
grade point average. And so this is where they'll take your English, math, etc., all those grades.
4.0 would
Yeah.
be straight A's.
Straight A's.
Or 100%. And then it backs down from there. So then you can get
3.2 A, B, like 2.9.
You could have a 2.8 GPA. That means the average of all your grades together would be a 2.8, which is below a B, but above a C. Right?
Yeah.
So you really want your GPA to be high. So when you get a bad math grade, you say, I just don't like math, I'm not very good at math. And you say, well, you know what, not everybody's good at math. Right? Cole's great at math, I was not great at math. Reed's not a big fan of math.
At all,
right?
no.
Cole, but we could still have the same GPA because Reed's really good at a class that maybe Cole isn't. So the GPA, if you get a bad grade in one class, will actually drop your whole GPA. When you get good grades, it helps raise your GPA.
that won't be as important in middle school as it is in high school.
Yeah, high school, that's
Very
the big
important.
thing, yeah.
But you're setting yourself up in middle school for your study habits, your test-taking habits, and your interests, so that when you go off to high school, it does affect. Now, and if you're in sports after school, that time you're committing to basketball or track or baseball or lacrosse or whatever it is you play takes away from your study time, right? And if you're in sports and then you're on your phone and then you're gaming and now you got to take and do some study time and some reading, keep in mind everything you do is an investment, so it will affect your GPA. So pay attention to your grades. You are a student first, right? And you're an athlete, and you're an artist, and but you're in school to do some studying.
What kind of suggestions or recommendations can you give these guys for helping stay organized? They're used to us telling them to write their assignments down, checking planners, parents checking agendas, a little bit more responsibility, I'm sure, in middle school and high school. What do you guys have to say about that?
It depends on your level of organization. Sometimes some people can just literally keep it in their head and they know what they got to do. Sometimes teachers will make something called a Google Classroom, where you can go online and look at the different assignments that you have. And then sometimes just a sticky note or sticky notes, you can write stuff down. And then I think in middle school, though, they still give you a plan, or you still get a plan.
We have an agenda that you can write your stuff down in. Also, you can make up your own system. You can put your newest stuff on top in your binder, because usually you will want a main binder to keep your homework and stuff. So it's as simple as making up your own system or just writing it down.
I recommend, and I've given this advice to these guys at my sons and the schools I work with, write stuff down. Put it into a planner, put it on a sticky note, write it on a sheet. If you have a homework slip that goes in the front of your binder every night so you don't forget what your homework is. If you've got to message your mom to remind you to read chapter 5, whatever you've got to do, come up with a way that if you're just relying on your memory, you don't fail to remember. So you want to get stuff done. So in the book, there's a chapter called Backpacks. I think it's hilarious when you take a look at guys' backpacks in middle school, because they're like, oh, I'm going to take this piece of paper with me. I won't forget it. They jam it in their backpack, and then what?
It's gone.
Forget it. And the backpack
forever.
gets pregnant or something like that. It just gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And it's just like, the backpack's overflowing with old gym clothes, missed homework, notes to remind myself, and a lunch that's going rotten. Okay, so whatever system you get, you got to stay on top of it or else it gets out of control. Okay, so in closing, let me give you a couple topics that are going to be really important to you guys that you need to practice over the summer. Okay, body odor. It's time to start taking showers every single day and using deodorant, right? Some of you are going to need to start shaving in the next year or so because you got a Twizzler sticking out the side of your face. And if you want somebody to say some word about you, it's going to be about that hair right there, coming right out the side of your face, right? Your shoes, your feet stink, right? They do. It's just part of being a teenager. So air out your shoes, change your socks every single day. You might end up with some girlfriends. You might end up with girls who are friends, and there's a difference, right? It's okay to have girls who are friends, right? And the girlfriend you have in middle school, you're probably not going to marry. Don't worry about it, right? Don't get serious. You don't have to get serious. And certainly don't start an Instagram page together with your girlfriend, because she'll be your girlfriend for about 3 days. And then something's going to happen, right? And it's online then forever. Some of the other topics like hall passes and homework. Leadership. Some of you are interested in leadership. Great time to start practicing some leadership. Lunch lines. What about lying? By the way, teachers know when you're lying. They've been doing this job a long time, and there's a lot of you, and they hear the same lies over and over again. You're not original. You're not convincing. You're just getting yourself in trouble. Let's see. Trimming your fingernails. Okay, not with your teeth. Actually, this is all middle school stuff. You're getting old enough, you start thinking about some of these things. I recommend you go introduce yourself to the principal, just to be friendly, so that they know who you are. It's not a big deal. You may never talk to them again, but it's a good thing to do. Let's see, what about your siblings? What if they go to the same school as you? Is it a good idea to make fun of them?
Don't talk to the, no, I'm just kidding.
Stealing, right? Swearing. These are all topics in the book you guys are going to want to get a good read on so that you're set yourselves up for success this next year. Let's see, a few more. Trash. You have a very clean school. You'd be surprised when you get to middle school how many people think if they just drop it on the ground, it's no longer theirs. Voice changes. Some interesting things are going to start happening with your voice.
Oh, God.
Right? And it's okay, right? Don't be too embarrassed. Just go, yeah, that happens, and keep talking.
It gets to the point where it's so normal that it's just like nobody even cares. Somebody will say, oh, that voice crack, but then you laugh about it. Like the first people are going to be like, it's either going to be you get a random voice crack, people are going to be like, what the heck? And you're going to be like, what the heck? Because your voice just went from being like this, then just dropping for half a second, then going back.
Guys, thank you very much. Really appreciate you. Give yourselves a round of applause. You did a great job.